This is the North End. This is the North End.
Welcome to the North End Podcast. It's the North End Reviews and Previews show. We're a little thin at the moment. We have some people joining us, but currently it is just myself and Mr. JP California. How are you, good sir? Good to see you. You doing okay?
I'm doing good, man. Just busy. How about you, Brian?
I'm doing well, man. Same thing. Just we were chatting just before we went on live there, and super busy. We do have Paul, who's just joined us as well. So going to pop Paulie in here.
What a time!
There he is. It's good timing on you, Paul. That looks like you was intentional.
Just right on time.
I'm not sure I can hear you, but oh, yep, I can.
Because I haven't talked yet.
I know, but sometimes you can hear a little crickling or whatever. Anyway, how are you, sir?
Oh, you know.
Quickly before you go on, pull the mic back a bit or turn your mic down. It's really loud and distorting.
Don't tell me what to do.
Thank you.
You're not my supervisor.
Appreciate that. Sounds better now.
Who do you think you are?
The tech guy for this lovely channel that we're attempting to produce. Trying to make it sound good for the listener. Anyway, great to see you. You're wearing a hat that says something
United
about
States of America. Love it. Love it.
Says something about your club that isn't necessarily true. Anyway, let's just find out how you are. Good to see you, Paulie. It's been a bit.
Man.
You've missed the last couple episodes, but happy you're here now. What's happening?
I was in Nashville, so I was traveling around a little bit, being
Love Nashville.
Completely ridiculous and reckless and stupid.
Yeah, and you didn't get COVID. That's hopefully.
Wow, we don't think
maybe you did. We don't know yet.
We don't think so. I've passed a bunch of tests, which is nice, but I don't know.
Yeah, false positives and breakthrough cases and all the other stuff.
I definitely was at the highest risk of my entire life of getting some sort of virus.
They call them diseases, Paul.
Yeah.
They're called diseases.
Yeah. Viruses also work. I mean that is accurate.
Yeah.
And it isn't. So curious about what were you doing in Nashville? Nashville. Shout out to anybody who's watching this from Nashville. Nashville's amazing. I love Nashville. I've been there a few times for work and stuff. But what were you doing there? You just checking it out, hanging out?
I mean, funny enough, we have a huge fan base in Nashville. I got stopped a lot going like North End. I was like,
Paul.
yeah. So I was there scouting our Road Show podcast where we might go to Nashville and do a live show event. Plus the Kansas City Chiefs are playing. So
right.
Which is
you're a fan of the Chiefs, right? I think.
I'm like a 20-year Chiefs guy. So I was in the stands. And I was running around desperately trying to find Wi-Fi so I could check the score of the United game. Saw the score of the United game, then looked up and it was 14-0 to a Kansas City Chiefs game that was almost as bad as the United game in terms of the result.
Yeah, so you had a great weekend.
I just got pop, sucker punched all over the place.
And you still wear that hat for some reason.
Yeah. Honestly, guys, this is when you wear the hat. You don't take a hat off when your team's in trouble. This is when you dig in.
It's a good shout. You support your club through the bad and the good. So
I respect that. At the wheel.
I respect that.
I just cannot stand the idea that all these other clubs who have just they just loved it like shit like he just did. I'm just like, this is when you show the support and say fuck you guys. Like I don't give a shit. You guys all want us to fail. You all want to hate us because we have 20 titles.
But Paul, this is the time where we get to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, you guys can enjoy it all you want, but this is
a little both.
This is when other fans of United back away a little bit, or they start talking some shit, or they act like they're not United and behind the club.
You represent.
And I'm just like, you know what? This is not the time to do that. This is the time to just go to JP and say, fuck you. I got 20 titles under my belt. What do you prick?
We got the fifth most winning team in England, so it's fine. Well, I'm cool with you.
Fifth. Yeah, that's a glorious moment.
Anyway, we got
you got some history. Nobody's saying you don't have history, JP. You absolutely do.
You just have to go deep into the book.
Takes a while. Takes a while to get there.
You do. Usually it's at the very beginning because the recent stuff's at the back. It's the first 10 pages.
It's been a while. We were expecting Mr. David Connerby to join us, and he may eventually join us, but we're we're on.
We don't miss them though.
We're on timelines here. We got
don't miss
work.
them.
We got work to do.
We got schedules to keep.
We've got schedules to keep. We're
Come on,
we're
Connie.
on time. We try to make things happen the way they need to happen. And if Connie can't get here, then you know what? We're going to just roll it out. We're going to get into the results at the week 9 results, and it's gonna be a lot of fun because there's a lot of talking points. Some of them are talking points I'm not a huge fan of myself, but we're gonna have to get into them. So let's do it, boys. I'm popping up the results page here. I'll be happy to roll with this for now, and we're going to talk about Friday's game, which is a difficult one for you, Jippers. JP, what happened? You got kind of. I want to ask you a question before we start this full on, just like specific to this game. How much are you missing Jack Grealish right now?
We're not.
You're not.
We're not missing Jack Grealish.
You don't think that's a case?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think we're in a little bit of a rut, And the funny thing is like when we're looking at this game, we say, are we missing Jack Grealish? I look back on the season so far, and there's not really a time where I say, damn it, we should have had Jack Grealish for this moment or for this game. It's like we've done okay for most of the season. The problem for me is Villa kind of continue where we left off with the Wolves game, where we were 2-0 up. We were doing great. We fell apart in the last 10 minutes, and now that 10 minutes has continued onto this half.
Yeah,
we went into the first half of the Arsenal game, and they just looked at it. This kind of reminded me of an Arsenal that's chasing for top 4. They were passing, they were moving, they were clinical, they were cutthroat. Partey was an insane beast, and it didn't help that our players look like trash. We actually looked tired. McGinn, I thought he should be benched halfway through that game. I thought he should have been pulled off the field and benched because he was so bad in the first half. And Luke and me went at it a little bit. That's probably why he's not here. He doesn't want to talk with me.
I think he's traveling right now, so we're going to give him a little slack. But
that's what he says. He's traveling. He wanted to take a swing at Mings again and say, it's his fault for this goal and this goal. And I had video footage. McGinn ducks for the first goal. He doesn't even challenge Partey. Partey gets the perfect flick on from the near post, just the redirect a little bit. It goes in. They get a very soft PK, Arsenal. I didn't think it was a PK according to this year's standards. We talked about it, how the league has been more physical. And it was almost like they went back 2 years and gave a super soft PK against us for Arsenal. But Arsenal deserved a 2-0 lead at half. McGinn came out, gave a soft pass for their third goal. Dude ran it down, gave it to Emile Smith-Rowe, who just kind of shot it, deflected off Mings and went in. It wasn't Mings' fault that deflected off him. It was McGinn's fault for basically passing the ball to Emile Smith-Rowe. Villa look like they're struggling. We need to get out of this rut. That's the third loss in a row.
Yeah, not looking good. Looking like you're struggling. Paul, of course, and I know you think this way, and of course this is the right way to think about it. Arsenal look good. I hate saying that. It comes out of my mouth, and I nearly blow chunks when I'm doing it. But Arsenal look good. They look organized. They look like they have a style of play. They look like they did at the end of last season, which they actually look quite good. They were had one of the best records from January until May last season in the league. I think they were second or third, or would have finished second or third. Paul, what are your thoughts on Arsenal and also obviously Villa sort of falling down a little bit?
Well, Arsenal undefeated in the last 7, which is really big for them considering how the season started. And this is the Premier League. It's such a fickle league.
Fickle fans, fickle league. Yeah.
Everybody makes 3 losses seem like the end of the world. They were up against a really shitty schedule and they got blasted. And then
injuries was a big issue too.
And injuries.
Right?
But honestly, it was the opponents they were losing to, or the opponents you're supposed to kind of lose to.
Well, other than the Brentford game, but I mean that's,
other than the Brentford game.
But you could also say that was supposed to too because of the storyline, right?
And they didn't look that good. But again, as soon as they got Gabriel come back into defense and they got the team kind of built from the back a bit, I kind of felt like this was not necessarily coming, but they had steadied themselves at the back, that you could see them starting to get a little bit more offensive going up the field a bit. Emile Smith-Rowe is such a good player for them. I think
Partey's starting to put things together a little bit as well.
Partey's,
consistent.
I still think he's too injured. I think he's going to be in and out of the squad. But if he plays a couple of games in a row, you can start to see his influence, allowing other players to go forward. So I think they're playing well. at a time when the schedule should have them playing well and they should be getting themselves results. It's not a reason to get overly excited, but it's also a very good response from this Arsenal team and Arteta on the back of, a time when everybody was like, he's not doing the job. He's going to be the first to get fired and all that Premier League stuff that happens as part of that job in the high profile. So I think it's really promising signs for Arsenal. As far as Aston Villa go, I think I got this right, JP. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but 6 of their last 9 road games they've lost, and I think that's as many as they had lost in the past 19. And that's once a team starts getting bad on the road, it's kind of a concern because
it's a bottom half problem.
When you're on the road, that's kind of when you're supposed to be like playing tight defense and
organized
and kind of just like grinding out results. But that's maybe I don't know this for a fact, but it doesn't seem like there's been an attempt to do that on the road or respect the home team that way. So I don't quite know what's going on at Aston Villa, but to be fair, they lost a significant player, but they also brought in a lot of guys at the same time.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time, right, to organize.
It can, yeah. Like yes. I mean, even he's a United player, so I'll highlight him specifically. But Axel Tuanzebe is a young guy who has not really played regular Premier League anything. He's played, but he has never played as a regular. So he's got this like pretty steep learning curve, and he's starting for Aston Villa. And I think when you get that means you're going to get mistakes, and you kind of can't. You have to be playing a certain level that you can afford to have a young guy learning his craft as a defenseman. Like you can cover for the occasional mistake, but they're not really playing that well, and he is making those mistakes now. So, I don't know how you turn this around for Aston Villa. It might just be a matter of, an international break, a bit of a.
Bit of time, bit of an adjustment,
little regroup. Yeah.
I think we need to switch back to a 4-3-3. We've been playing this 3-5-2 for the better part of 4 or 5 games now, and we did well when we switched over at the beginning. But the last 3 games, we haven't looked good at all. We did not look good against Tottenham. We looked okay at Wolves, but we blew it, and Arsenal just slapped us around. And Tuanzebe has not played well.
Got a confidence issue, I think, at the moment as well with the team.
Yeah,
and I think the manager's got to take some slack for that. We spent a lot of time on this game, guys. We got to move on to the next one if that's cool. We've got Chelsea are currently on top by 1 point, 7-0 against the Norwich side that we all know Norwich is pretty are struggling, and they're likely going to finish bottom. Relegation is an inevitability. Get a red card in the 64th minute or 65th minute. Gibson gets a second yellow and a red card, which is not helping the squad that is really, really struggling to have an identity and any kind of quality. But like, to give Chelsea some credit, Mason Mount, we'll get to him later in the show. Chelsea looking really good here. Chilwell again, performing, more goals from him. Paul, what are your thoughts on Chelsea? It's sort of a response to some of the criticism they've faced recently in their sort of lack of goal scoring, and of course, the funny side of this is that they're didn't have their talisman striker and didn't have their non-talisman striker who's supposed to have been a talisman striker. No Lukaku and no Timo Werner. So they still end up performing, and of course against the Norwich side that we have to caveat that to some extent. But what were your thoughts on Chelsea's performance here?
I thought they looked really good. I thought Mason Mount looked phenomenal.
Incredible. Yeah.
I thought as soon as you start having a Chelsea lineup with a false 9 as Kai Havertz, you're like, oh, well, we've kind of seen this experiment before. It doesn't really look that good.
Wouldn't work against a better side, would you say?
I think it's so hard to evaluate anyone who plays against Norwich. Like as a team, they are so stacked that I'm not surprised they got 7-0. Whereas I could look at an individual player like Mason Mount and go, oh fuck, well, like that was just, I don't really care who's playing against it. To do what he did is phenomenal. But it is interesting. The narrative is almost what is next while they still have Lukaku out for an extended period of time and maybe the other guy. I'm not sure if I want to mention the other guy too much, but I know a lot of Chelsea fans are very annoyed by the fact that Lukaku was even played for, I think it was the FA Cup. Oh no, it was a Champions League game against a team that they had every business like knocking out of the pitch, and he hurt himself in that game. So a lot of Chelsea fans are really annoyed that the story going into that game was he's tired, he's exhausted, and then he gets played, and then he gets injured. So that's kind of more my interest for this, is that they seem to really still be free flowing, and potentially even more so without Lukaku. But it's Norwich, so you can't really tell.
Yeah, again, it is a tough one there. Quick thoughts, JP, on Chelsea smashing Norwich 7-0. Anything to add?
I mean, we all saw a kind of a beatdown from Chelsea coming. I think it's very impressive, Mount's return for this game, especially considering he's like an attacking center mid. Like he's not a striker, he's not a winger.
He's played as a 10 though too, so you can see him playing that 10, false 9. You can typically a 10 often can't. Sorry to interrupt, but no, sometimes that false 9 can play, or that 10 can play a false 9 because they're close to. Like if you look at Firmino at Liverpool, he's not. He was a midfielder before they put him as a false 9, as what they are calling him as a striker. So
right,
similar sort of.
He was like a winger midfielder. He wasn't like a center mid.
I'm pretty sure Firmino at one point played an 8, but we can't confirm that at the moment. But just your thoughts on whether this should be something we should look to see Chelsea doing in the future when they have more difficult opponents with a false 9. Is it going to work? I think
they're going to try and force back Lukaku as soon as they get him, and it's almost like the United problem where you got this talisman player that you have to play.
Yeah.
Now, how are you going to make the team play well with that player? And like we talked about before, it didn't look like they were playing Lukaku the right way.
Yeah,
and now it looks like bam, it all snaps together. But you're right, Norwich isn't a team to gauge.
Norwich, JP, just Norwich.
But my biggest thing for Norwich is where are they going from here now? Like they look beaten, they look destroyed. They're going for like the lowest points tally ever in the EPL. Are they going to fire their coach? Are they going to bring in somebody? Are they going to change their tactics when it comes to recruitment? Like, is the recruiting going to take like a huge hit? They need to look at themselves a little bit because they spent money. I'm pretty close. My numbers are about 50 to 60 million. They did spend. And is there are they keeping the manager still? Do they believe in him because they're going back to the championship? Like what's happening? Because to me, it's just like a club knowing they're already going down. And that has to wear and tear on the fan base of Norwich.
You got it. Yeah, Norwich. I agree, 100%. Not much else to say about that game. It was an absolute smashing from Chelsea, and I think we would have expected like a 3 or 4, but when you go down a man as well and against a team,
it was already 4 or 5.
It was. They were already smashing him, and it was just it was cruising after that. Next up, we got Crystal Palace versus Newcastle, new manager, interim manager who has come in and is, sort of has to right the ship or try to just manage the situation in whatever way he can. Crystal Palace having a reasonably good season, but it's a bit inconsistent. You see these moments where Palace look really good, look like they're going to get something out of a game, like the Arsenal game, and then in sort of shit the bed at the end of the game defensively and don't really get over the line. Arguably in this game too, I feel like Palace had enough. It should have had enough anyway. From a statistical perspective, 75% possession. It should say a lot about what the flow of this game was. That's massive. That's like 75% is a huge amount of possession. 14 shots, 3 on goal though. Only 3 on goal says a little bit about their the clinical nature of where they're at as a team. And I do think there's a little bit of something from Newcastle here that needs to be given credit for, as they look like the work rate was there to try to defend. Anything to add to this that Paul, that you would say, you were surprised by from a Palace or Newcastle?
I don't really know his current fitness, but I was surprised Zaha was a bench player. I would have thought that hosting Newcastle would have been a good game to maybe get him a little bit of form, a little bit of momentum.
That. Yeah.
So I don't know if it was the reverse of that is this would be a good game to sit him and make a point because you don't necessarily need him against the Newcastle. But I thought that was an interesting little Patrick Vieira narrative to maybe keep an eye on. But otherwise, Crystal Palace are a good team. I think they're undefeated in the last 5 home games.
Coming up. They're doing good strides.
Yeah, they look a much better, much different team than what we saw previously.
They do. So even a draw against a team you probably should beat when they come visit, it's still a good result for them. And Newcastle is just whatever. Fuck. I don't really know. A part of me just hopes. I hope they have a late in the season crumble and they're the most expensive Champions League.
Dying for them to go down. I want every team in the Premier League to make it their mission, no matter what happens, to beat Newcastle so they get relegated, because that would be spectacular.
And if I linked to like crazy players for January too, so it'd be awesome if they get one or two like $50 million players in and they still go down.
That'd be so good. Anything? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
No, I'm just saying that would be the Disney movie I'd paid for.
So can we get a Prime? Can we get a Prime Amazon Prime show about that one? That'd be dope. I'd be laughing my head off because it needs it, right?
I don't know if anybody talked about this like last show, but I will say I thought the comments by Steve Bruce as he resigned were pretty heartbreaking, and I thought a little bit disgusting and kind of. An insight into right? There's a human being that everybody's starting to shit on and attack, and like he's got a family, and it was just like
it was harsh, man. It was
too much.
He was in a difficult position too, right? Like you're a manager of a club that we all can watch is not getting the investment it requires from the owner to succeed, and he's doing whatever the heck he can in that situation, and he's getting abuse from fans. It's just like
cannot like Newcastle fans get mad at the owner who saves them from bankruptcy and tells them all I can't bring us past just saving it, and then they hate him, and then they get mad at that owner because he doesn't like invest in the club enough and the squad's not good enough, and then they act like somehow it's Bruce's fault that they're just staying in the Premier League and that's all he's able to do with them. Like, I mean, want more, hope for more, all that shit, but like don't be so venomous with that stuff.
It's pretty harsh. It's pretty harsh. I agree for sure, and not a nice thing to see. Absolutely. I just want a quick shout out to we got Brian Daigle here, we got Cody Mack here, we got Bob Spur TV, first time on the North End. Good to see you, pal. We'd love to get you on to chat as well. Bob Spur TV, he's got his own channel. It's a Spurs channel, but you guys have been on it. Paul and JP have both been on that channel. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Let's get on to the next game. We've got this is a slaughter.
Can I just
oh sure, go ahead, Paul. Yep, go ahead.
Bob TV, you being on this is a bit pointless, just like your game on Sunday.
Bob Spur TV. Let's get it right.
Bob Spur TV, great show, love it.
Yeah. Bobby's wonderful, man. He's a favorite guy. He's one of my favorite people. He did our intro for we were Tottenham TV, but Tottenham on tour. He's a talented fella, and his channel's fantastic. So go check it out, Spurs supporter or otherwise. He does really good content. So like and subscribe on that channel. Good to see you, Bobby. Let's get into the next game, which again is just an absurd scoreline. 5-2 Watford over Everton. I mean, if you watch
fantasy team screwer,
just fantasy team screwer, and also just a bizarre moment to see Watford's an Everton side who should be comfortably winning this game, and then a Watford side just overrunning this Everton team who's defensively just like utter shambles. JP, what are your thoughts on? First of all, I just want to start with Everton because this Everton side started the season reasonably well, but they haven't really been doing very much lately. And this like losing to a Watford side, they got in a new manager who had maybe a couple of weeks at this point with Claudio Ranieri. 5-2 at home to Watford. What are your thoughts, JP?
Well, it's really interesting because we were talking about Everton after like 4 or 5 weeks. And I was like, you know what? They haven't really played anybody good. Then they played Villa and we spanked them. I think it was 3-0. And I was just like, this is the Everton team that's supposed to be pushing for like a top 8, top 9 spot. I just don't see it. An Everton team that's going to be pushing needs to win this game. They need to beat Villa. They need to be pushing on better. And it's just like, to me, it's almost like, what are you going to, they're like just a crazy bag of tricks. What are you going to get? Like some days you get good performances and some days it's like, wow, when can Donovan Calvert-Lewin come back? And right now it's just like, gosh, blessed Everton need to get it together, else they're going to be like 11th, 12th spot. They're going to be fighting with like Villa and Brighton for that top 10, 9th and 10th place spot. So
strange result.
It was a really strange result. It was just strange to the scoreline because it was like 3 goals after the 80th minute for Watford. So it was like 2-2 going into the final quarter of the match. And it's almost like Everton like lost the spark, or they lost the energy. They lost their legs. Maybe
they just looked in complete disarray. Like when it came to defensive positioning, It was bizarre, absolutely bizarre. Paul, before I get your thoughts on this game, Bob Spur just wanted to ask a quick question. Bobby, we want, if you can stick with us till the end of the, and sorry to cover you up, JP, but who's bigger than Man United right now, Ole or Ronaldo? Genuine question. We'll get to that, Bobby, when we get to the result, the Man United Liverpool result. But it is a good question, so we'll give Paul a little bit of time to think about it. And then Paul, would love to get your thoughts on this shellacking of Watford over Everton. Bizarre result, and what do you think?
For the first time in 15 games, Everton have lost hosting Watford, which is amazing, and they do so because Josh King comes back to Everton where he was not given a fair shake. His words after the game.
Yeah, huge, right?
And is just the third player ever to return to a team to score a hat-trick against that team.
Massive.
And it was just such a cool, freakish, never going to happen again event. Welcome to the Premier League. That was not a Josh King who's going to go on and score more goals. That was just a Josh King.
That's his last goal of the season.
He won't score again. He won't score again, right? I mean,
you're going to be like, oh, that guy's so good. Oh, yeah, he would be great somewhere else. And then he's going to score 1 or 2 more goals the rest of the season. So, yeah, I just think there was just a weird, maybe a little bit of extra of a, I don't know, fire under him to get on the score sheet. Momentum. But I think it's also just the Premier League once in a while we offer these freak results. I do think Everton have been playing fairly well. I still think they are a little bit of an ensemble of players from different managers that were all bought at various huge price tags. And the team is kind of just an assembly. I think Rafa's doing the best he can to get them to play a certain Rafa way, which is great, but I still think that group was never really built to be what he has them trying to be. So it may not be this season. It may be another couple of transfer windows to kind of get there over the line. But I don't think anybody from Everton has to really panic about losing for Watford. Like, it's just a
set an anomaly in a sense, right?
I didn't think they were playing so bad before this game, the games leading up to it, to say that this is like this has been coming kind of game. So just take it for what it is. It's just it's the Premier League. Every once in a while, you're gonna get spanked by somebody you shouldn't get spanked by.
Messed up result. Let's get on to the next game. We got Leeds versus Wolves. 1-1 draw here. Two teams that, Leeds in particular, trying to get their feet again in their second season. Wolves, new manager, trying to sort of recreate who they are, playing more offensively. Under Nuno, they played a lot more defensively and a lot more like. And Spurs fans will agree with me on this. Like, hard to watch a lot of it, despite being effective. Leeds, though, 1-1 draw here, kind of expected this to some extent. Penalty in the 94th minute it was basically the last kick of the game. Pretty unlucky to some extent, but penalty for you guys, a result you'd expect. I looked at this game and I thought 1-1, 2-2. I think I said 1-1 because I thought Leeds are struggling to score. Wolves just generally don't score. JP, what were your thoughts on Leeds Wolves 1-1?
I actually was a little bit more impressed with Leeds play. I won't lie, I didn't see out the match. I saw
they did look better. They did look better.
But they had like over 60% possession. What was the number? 63% possession.
Yeah.
Right, which is not Leeds style. It's not. It's very like, let's counter them.
Depends who they're playing to some extent, but yeah.
I was just shocked to see Wolves give them the ball up that much. But Leeds were at home, and Leeds have not been good so far this season. But this is a point they needed. This could be like
it's a bigger point for sure.
It's a bigger point than it seems.
Missing a couple key players too, JP. But they're trying to find their feet in a
Patrick
style.
Bamford's out,
without certain players. Yeah. So Paul, thoughts on the 1-1?
I thought it was interesting to see Wolves play a little bit more like how Wolves played when they had Nuno, when it was just, we're going to give you the ball, we're going to try to catch you in the counter.
Yeah.
But they're also not equipped like they used to be under Nuno to play the counter as effectively. But it does seem like if you're playing Leeds, if you open up the game, you can smash them. If you sit back and let them try to pass around you, you can get a result. If you kind of play a middle ground game, that's when they usually burn you, when they're playing well. But they haven't played that way this entire season. So now it doesn't really feel like Leeds are that much of a challenge for most teams in the Premier League. Like I don't think anybody needs to be intimidated by them. Whereas last season they just played at such a high, exhilarating tempo. It was I think scary for a lot of teams, rightfully so. But they've just lost it, which is a bummer. What I will say I thought was really cool was Hwang Hee-chan scored again. That's his 4th goal. And do you guys know how many shots on target he's had this season?
I'll say 6, 7. It can't be that high.
Brian?
Yeah, I would say the same. 6 or 7, probably.
He has 100% shots on target conversion rate. He has 4 shots on target.
Wow, really?
What
4
is
shots
statistic?
and target 4 goals? That's absurd.
Clinical.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I just want to give a quick shout out to what Brian says here, and I think this is an important thing to point out. Gelhardt was the youngster who came on for Leeds.
Yeah.
He was incredible. It could be one of those scenarios where, you get a player like that who comes on and he gets an opportunity and he sort of does what he does. But just a shout out to him. Like he's the reason Leeds ended up tying this game. Just the amount of creation, of course, getting the penalty in the last minute there was impressive from him.
Let's pause our breaks here on this, Lloyd, because I feel like this happens to youngsters a lot. He came on in the Arsenal game yesterday, and I didn't even notice him.
I know, but JP, that's exactly what I caveated with was let's not get over the top with it. It could have been one of those moments where a player comes in, he has that moment, he takes it, but isn't necessarily going to be able to do it every game. But it was but in that game, it was incredible to watch because he literally made Wolves defense like shit in their pants over and over again.
Sometimes unknown is really nice and hyped up for fans.
Yeah. I just think you give him a bit of credit, and then totally. You're like, okay, he's a youngster, he's done well. Hopefully, he can crack on and do some important things. Bobsport TV says, with Bielsa not changing his style or taxes, isn't it only a matter of time before his team are found out? Bobsport, I actually think they have been found out.
Yeah,
I think that's literally what we're seeing here in this season. I think what we're seeing from this side, and I don't even say if it's been found out in particular. I think they are tired. Like I think they're tired of the regiment that it comes from being, which we saw in Bobby, you'll know under Pochettino, when you have to play at the highest level of intensity over a long period of time, eventually you get tired of being expected to do that week in, week out. And I think
Jurgen Klopp had the same thing with his rock and roll of football.
And it comes down to recruitment and cycling. And if you're able to do that well, you can bring in new players and you can maintain that level. And I think Leeds haven't spent the money on doing that. And obviously, without wanting to just talk about Spurs too much, Spurs have clearly not done that for like 5 seasons. So that's where we're at. Let's move on. We've got Southampton versus Burnley, 2-2, tight game. Paulie, what are your thoughts on this game? I have to admit, I didn't watch it. It's not a game that I was interested in watching. Did you catch the highlights? Did you watch the game?
Yeah, it was an interesting game. End of the day, Southampton have a pretty good run of not losing a lot. Whereas Burnley just equaled their longest winless run in like their club's history in the top flight, which is kind of telling at the end of a 2-2 draw that both teams can walk away with it feeling different about it. I thought Burnley did well to keep up with a strong Southampton, strong in comparison to a Burnley who have been playing like shit the entire season, I think. I thought it was interesting that Broha seems to be cementing himself as a regular goal scorer for Southampton. He's now starting to start and produce for them, which is interesting because he is a Chelsea loanee, and he's highly regarded amongst Chelsea fans who know these kind of things. So I've been keeping an eye on him. But, end of the day, it is kind of an entertaining 2-2 draw, and that's the best thing you could say about the game. It doesn't particularly matter that much to either team, although this draw does put Burnley into a situation where next week they will officially become like the worst version of Burnley in the top flight over the past 15 years, I think, which is, that's got to be a real gut punch to them, and probably one of the reasons why
the cracks are showing in this.
One of the reasons why a lot of us has picked Burnley going down this season is because of this stuff. But
consistent. Anything to add, JP, to that?
Yeah, Paul, who was the player you said was a Chelsea loanee?
Broja, Broja.
There's another guy that Southampton just got, Valentino Livramento. I hope I said that somewhere near.
Pretty good, JP. Pretty good.
18 years old,
right
he
back.
Just signed him for next to nothing because I think his contract was coming up, or he was a free agent, one of those two. And he looks like a solid pickup. I mean, he's playing most games. He got a goal to this game, and he might be one kid where, as a better team, I'm not going to say like a Man U or a Chelsea or whatever, but a West Ham, a Villa, a Leicester, they might be looking at this kid for in 2 years because he's 18. What is he going to be like when he's 20 if he can stay healthy, get game time, and progress? And we all know Southampton can be a conveyor belt for good talent. So I think this is a kid we should just keep an eye on.
It's a good show. It's a good show for sure. All right, let's get into the next game. This is a sort of a bit of an obvious one. There's not a need to spend a ton of time on it. I do want to give Brighton some credit here because I do think obviously the first half was pretty brutal. Man City dominated. It was not a non-issue. They go into the dressing room at halftime. Graham Potter says something to this Brighton side that gets them to be back in the game. Not back in the game numbers wise, but back in the game in their own heads. They looked like, despite Man City dominating that first half, Brighton looked like they're, we didn't do what we should have done in the first half, but we responded really well despite the scoreline. I want to give Brighton a lot of credit for that. I want to give Graham Potter a lot of credit for that, who I'm a massive fan of as a manager and wish he was at Spurs at the moment. Of course, Man City just are a better side. They got better players. They got, they're going to do what they do, especially in that first half when Brighton were kind of under the cosh. Expected result for Man City. I think this is what they do. They're comfortable. What do you guys think about, let's ignore the scoreline, JP, when it comes to Man City and Brighton, just Brighton's response? I want to talk about that a little bit. They are up in the top end of the league for good reason. Do you agree?
If you ignore the scoreline, you look at the stats, you watch the game, which I'll be honest, I watched the highlights. Brighton should hold their heads up.
Brighton, 48% possession, over 52
against Man City. Man City don't have like 60, 65 sometimes against other teams. Like, not even big teams, good teams.
Yeah.
They'll probably have 65% possession against United when they play them in 2 weeks, right? So Brighton should hold their head up. Yeah, he's like, yeah, probably. Man City they're just so good, and Brighton still it was like
they showed themselves.
David versus Goliath, and David just tried to fight back the best he could. I mean, I know the story goes that David wins, but we've all seen the fights in real life, and those.
It was a good watch. Like that second half, they were getting spanked in the first half, but that second half, I was Brighton. I was rooting for them. They are, I don't have a second team in the Premier League, but I like the manager and I like the style of football that they play.
Yeah,
and I think he's doing a really good job at taking a Brighton side with the limited resources that they have when it comes to
and doing very well
and competing, in that second half, competed against Man City. Now, of course, Man City are up 3-0 going into
it. They're going to take a foot off.
They're not going to be. But yeah, I was happy with that. Paul, anything to add, brother?
It's just so dangerous that Man City are finding this groove that they don't need to put out their best 11. And they can beat a team that
they've been doing that. They've been doing that
every year.
Every year.
But they do it every year. But when they start to do, they're doing it to a level right now where it's almost a bit are you kidding me? This is your lineup? Really? Brighton are a good team.
They are.
And then they just they rolled out there. No Sterling, Mahrez, KDB, and they just kind of fucking just do their thing.
Still get the job done. Yeah.
It's a danger. The Premier League, the two teams are going to be racing for the title, or Liverpool and Man City. We knew that going into the season. It's been established.
Chelsea are on the cusp of it, but they're not there yet. And I thought they were. I actually thought Chelsea were going to win the league this season, but based on what I've seen from Liverpool and Man City, both teams, Paul, and this is to what you're saying right now, no matter who they put on the pitch, there's a system in place, and they're going to play to that system, and they're gonna own you. And it doesn't matter what players are there. And if one of the players or some of the key players in those positions aren't going to play at the level that they need to be, Klopp or Guardiola, most of the time they'll fix it quickly and go boom, boom, and they'll nail it.
With the difference that Klopp doesn't have as much quality on his squad and bench.
Yeah.
So that's the danger. And my point being Premier League, but like for every competition, FA Cup, for the well, not the Carabao Cup today, but the Champions League.
Somebody's got a chance to win a different trophy.
Yeah. The Champions League. This is like danger
Spurs.
form for everybody when they can start playing this way. It's honestly, it's special to watch. It'll probably be 10 years down the road. We'll remember the Pep Man City days when he had this team fucking just doing their shit.
Yeah. Cheating.
But it's, cheating. Yeah, obviously. I want to say that. And I thought specifically
in the lineup.
Yeah, specifically, I thought Phil Foden just continues to show how
improving all the time, isn't he?
Yeah, he's so
20 years old. It's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's get into the next game. We're going to get into Sunday now. We've got Brentford versus Leicester here. 2-1 Leicester win. I just want to talk about that first. Yuri Tielemans goal was just absurd in the 14th minute. Ridiculous finish. He keeps doing that. He's got this like ability to kind of like score those types of goals, and you're going, Tielemans, holy shit, what a player!
Screams a Man City player on his jacket.
I agree. I think he'd be a bit like the new Mahrez in a sense.
I was just saying a new Gundogan
or Gundogan. Yeah, I could see that as well. But a good performance from Leicester to some extent. I think they've improved over the last couple of games, beating United, beating Brentford. Brentford's still just doing this fantastic stuff to see from Brentford.
They're my second team. I just love them.
I just think it's incredible for them to. They had more possession than Leicester, and this is a Leicester team with like Maddison and Tielemans and these players Vardy, but who should keep the ball and be able to control the game, but still did not have more of the ball than Brentford did. And shout out to Brentford, 15 shots, 5 on goal. Obviously it was Leicester had more shots on goal, but like how equal was that? 20 crosses. 13 fouls. Like they're playing football at the highest level with no understanding that they're supposed to be like not as good as they are, which I love. Yeah. It's just like this mentality of just going, we belong here. I just love seeing that. We saw that with Sheffield United, for the couple seasons they were in, especially that first season. I think we're seeing that from Brentford. They're joy to watch. Great, very well managed. Paul, anything to add to Brentford, Leicester, and Leicester's win over Brentford?
I thought Brentford just smacked them around in the first 45 minutes. I was just like, good for you guys. Like, this is, I've seen him do it before, so I can't say I was super surprised. And Leicester can be a little bit hit or miss at times. And it really was a Tielemans rocket that I think was the turning point where Leicester kind of woke up as a result of that. He's such a special. Like no player in the Premier League, or I think even in Europe, has more goals in 2021 from outside the box than Tielemans.
He just has vision in that. It's bizarre, but amazing.
And he's confident to take the shot.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's a little sneaky about the fact that he can shoot from that distance, because he's not like there are guys who are known for it, who just do it all the time. He does it not as often, but does it when a goal is plausible. So he's not skying it constantly like a lot of these guys who like to shoot outside the box.
He doesn't do it like 10 times and hit one. He does it like one. He does it like 3 times and hits 2 out of 3. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like you expect it when given the opportunity, and it's very accurate. It's impressive.
It's so clean too. His shots.
What a hit!
Pretty, man.
What a hit!
His form reminds me a little bit of Steven Gerrard when he would just lace something from like 35 out, and you're just like,
lovely to watch.
Ooh, it just tingles your foot senses,
Bit unlucky, JP, for Brentford to lose this game. What are your thoughts on their performance? And again, unlucky, but playing at a very high level for a team that's just come up.
I think they should be, again, very proud. I don't know what you say. Their new stadium only seats 17,000 people, and they're beating Arsenal. They're playing Leicester. They're playing well against Chelsea. I can't wait to see what they do next season. Like, I can't wait to see what they're going to do when they recognize.
I hope they don't get second season.
Oh, yeah, I hope I don't just jinx them because all of a sudden they never win again. But
it does seem like a thing for teams that I mean, I think Sheffield United were able to get through 2 seasons before they fell off, and it does come down to investment. And often, like you just said, you mentioned that 17,000 people in the stadium. If you don't it's tiny. If you don't that's half what TFC have in Toronto. In the MLS, so a little more than that. So it's a really, really small amount. Of course, they're packed all the time, but it's just a different I hope they can manage it, and hope that they'll put the work into it. They have a great manager and a great fan base, and it's nice to see in the Premier League. This is the other side of, we see Newcastle get taken over by a Saudi, basically Saudi state, and then you have Brentford come up and doing what they're doing. It's the opposite, right? Like, I'm glad that we have both of those. At least there's contrast. Paul, you want to add something?
No, I think that's I summarized pretty nicely. Like,
Cool.
I think we should all be fans of Brentford. I don't think there should be anybody who's not aware of how fun
the money. Hate on Brentford. Nah, fuck off.
How much fun it's like last year's Leeds. It's Leicester before that, Wolves before that. Like there's always a club where just like, fuck, these guys shouldn't be this good. Good for them for doing it. And Brighton and Brentford are both two teams where you should have soft spots for them, just as Premier League fans.
Because to a bigger extent, Leicester. Like, I feel like Leicester, while they spend more money, they have a bigger stadium and a great manager. They did it the right way. They built up. They got a little lucky with a title run.
They've done some good. That's not lucky. They did a really good job. Recruitment well for that team is probably the best recruitment you'll see in the Premier League in the last 5 years. Incredible what they were. And there is a bit of luck. Of course, you could add Liverpool to that. We're going to get into the next game. Of course, it's West Ham versus Spurs. West Ham beat Spurs 1-0 at home. One of the worst games of football I've seen this season, just across the board from both teams. It was garbage football. West Ham were crap. Spurs were crap. Spurs were a little more crap. It was a really hard watch. I'm going to chuck in the link here. If Brian or Bobby are still available, I've just put the StreamYard link in. I'm going to respond myself to what was happening there. If either one of you guys want to hop on and give us a Spurs perspective, we'll do that. But we'll start with Paul. West Ham again. They're having a good season. They started well. There's a little bit of in and out, but Spurs, struggling away from home, just struggling in general. They're just Spurs doing Spurs things. What are your thoughts on this game? Did you watch it? Because it was a hard watch. It was a hard watch.
It was a bit of a clog through mud kind of game. It
was. Yeah.
I thought Antonio's goal was well taken. I like Antonio. It was good.
Shit defending though. There's some of the worst defending I've seen in the
it's like it's one of those give the striker credit, but don't bother mentioning the defending. I thought Declan Rice I thought had a weirdly good game, but like it's almost indicative of what kind of game it was that I can highlight the defensive midfield player for West Ham as being a guy who had a good game. It just seemed like everybody else was kind of
terrible.
Yeah, it was a bad game.
It was a terrible game. This is becoming a habit for Spurs at the moment when it comes to North London derbies, or just London derbies. Sorry, not North London. Spurs have lost in the last 4 London derbies 10-1. If that doesn't tell you everything about where we're at as a club and what we should be doing when it comes to performing and winning these games and being like relevant, if we want to finish in the top 4 or even top 6 or even in the top 10, you need to be at least competing in these games. To lose 10-1, to concede 10 goals and score 1 goal against West Ham, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Crystal Palace. That is embarrassing. That is one of the most embarrassing things I like as a Spurs fan. It's shocking. It's shocking. It's so bad. I want to blame the manager, but I don't think I can. I'm going to be, I'm not, I am I have a nuanced opinion about Levy and about the board and all those other things. But this is a scenario where we've seen this go on and on and on and over again. I just want to say something has to be done. I don't know where it is, but it has to be done. I am really frustrated right now. Just had to get that out. Thanks for listening. And JP, did we get your thoughts on this yet? Because
it's very interesting to me watch West Ham United
overcome Spurs
to this. But besides this game, West Ham has progressively taken last year's and continue to step forward, and they're just showing themselves kind of as
But they were shit in this game, JP. To be fair.
That's fine. That's one game, right? That's one game in the season.
Absolutely,
I still think West Ham is going to be a top 8 team. And the last 2 years they've done well. I always saw West Ham as like Newcastle. Big club, lots of potential, shit performances, crazy fans, didn't go anywhere, would buy players, would sell them at the wrong times before they peaked. And I just feel like West Ham is going right along with Declan Rice, and that is they're both rising to prominence again. Like West Ham
until Declan Rice goes to Man U, and then
let's see. I mean, Declan Rice hasn't agreed a new contract. There's a lot of discussions about that, but it's nice to see kind of that rise again, right? It's
No, it
very, very
No,
nice
it fucking
to watch
sucks.
West Ham do well. I like Declan Rice a lot. I like Calvin Phillips a lot.
Calvin
And I
Phillips
think-
plays for Leeds. So
I know he does, but those are the two holding mids for England, and I
Right,
think
right, I
those
see what
two
you're saying.
holding mids can be the holding mids for England for the next 5 years easily.
I
They're
get you.
they're really good, and they got a lot of growth in them. And I like players. I do like individual players.
Yeah, that's why
So-
you're here. It's more than just a club you support. You look
Yeah.
at other players and you like football, and you want to see
And I
good
hate
players
West
do
Ham.
good
Their
things.
colors are just so god ugly. But
You're not a fan of the claret and blue, there, buddy.
I love claret and blue. But the claret and
Amazing.
irons is just crap.
Paul, anything to add to West Ham Spurs? What are your thoughts on this? And you could go from a West Ham perspective.
I
Spurs, or
I
just
would-
across the board.
I wouldn't want to focus too much on the Spurs situation because I
Please
think it's kind of unpacking itself as of right now. But I also with caution, don't panic. It's not there yet. I don't think. West Ham, however, I think quietly, it's starting to become a time where we should maybe start talking about David Moyes as a manager and maybe talking about him with a little bit more respect than
Give
we
him a
have.
bit more credit.
I think
Move on from the
where we
guy
were
in the
last
apple.
year, whenever he had an issue or a real bad result, he didn't lose anything but the momentum. He just kept building momentum, and they got better and better. They didn't finish particularly well last season, but they could have finished much worse because they were in spots where he helped bring them out of it. I thought even the win today against Man City, that's a David
Huge.
Moyes
It's huge.
gutsy performance. So he's getting them to buy into gutsy performances, and that's not easy when he's got a lot of flair skill players, and he's finding the right balance of bringing the right combinations of flair and skill and hardworking and grit all at the same time. Which is not an easy balance by any means. So I think, if this keeps up, I think it's starting to become David Moyes' respect time. I don't know. I'm not entirely there because I still don't necessarily love David Moyes, but
Given
I do,
time with the right situation, with the right, it worked at Everton.
Totally.
Everton at the time when he was there are very similar to where West Ham are now.
Yeah.
It's
He's
almost
doing a remake.
that just got into Europe, 5th, 6th place, kind of, the good enough players, the right system. It seems to me like he is doing the right things, Paul. I think that's a good show.
yeah. So
Yeah.
David Moyes, hats off to you,
David
sir.
Moyes, hats off. Okay, so let's get into the one that nobody wants to talk about except everybody wants to talk about it. Liverpool absolutely destroy Man United 5-0. Not even remotely close to a performance you would expect at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Absurd situation here. I don't even know where to start. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up the statistics from this game in particular because I think that it's important to look at. But Paul, I know this is gonna be a tough one for you to some extent, but I mean, you probably you've gotten through it to some extent, right? You understand that the difficulty of the situation. Did you give me a is there a thing for this?
On this
Slate?
specific game?
A
No.
slate for this
No.
game? No. Okay.
No.
Well, let's just talk about it then, because Paul did not want to do the slate for this one. Oh,
If
man.
somebody had asked, I might have done it, but we don't
Oh,
usually
man.
do slates for
I
games.
know, but if the one deserved it, it would have been this one, I think, for a result. But anyway, let's just talk about it. Let's just get into it because it is absurd. 5-0. It was 4-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
What is Ollie's approach here when it came to tactically speaking? He came out and he said they were gonna be on the front foot. I think that was something he was quoted as saying. It was freaking brutal. Defensively, some of the worst defensive positions I've seen. The wing backs way high up the pitch against a team that if you do that against, they're going to expose you, which they did clearly in the first half. It was ridiculous. Just I want you to give us a rundown of what you thought, what you saw, and what your thoughts are on Ole and what his decisions were, and that first half in particular. The second half, a bunch of other things happened, which we'll get into. But tell me about it, and I'm going to just excuse myself for one moment. I'll be back.
Okay. Not a popular opinion, but I do not think a manager can play the game for the players on the field.
Yeah.
And I think the players on the field regardless of what they were told to do tactically and how they were prepared, are the top of the ladder when it comes to responsibility for how that game went to shit. I know everybody wants to talk about Ole, and it's really easy to talk about Ole, and Ole out's going to trend and all that shit. That's fine. I get how that's going to be the reaction. It's the Premier League. That's how everybody does things now. And other opponents who don't want to help Man United at all are going to say things like, don't fire him because Ole's at the wheel. I get all that shit too. But nobody can watch.
You don't chalk this up to Ole at all. You chalk this up as a player.
No. There's a hierarchy, and I want to cover off the hierarchy.
Okay.
First and foremost, the hierarchy is the players playing that game were fucking shit. Luke Shaw was garbage. I don't know how it's possible that you could be hugging the ass of a center back in the middle of your box and not realize that to your left, where you're supposed to be covering, there is no one there anymore.
Yeah.
And that happened twice. I don't know what he's doing. I really I fundamentally don't understand what's going through somebody's brain in that moment. It's not something he would have been told to do. That's not a drill. That's not tactics. I thought Wambas
was just so bad.
It's so bad. And Maguire something's wrong with Maguire. Like, that's not Harry Maguire. I don't think anybody who ever sees him play for England or Man United or anybody would say that is a regular Harry Maguire. There is something wrong with him right now. It has been 2 or 3 games now where it's very clear that he's not.
Is he injured?
He might be injured. He might not be up to snuff. I don't know what the deal is. I really don't. But that was a terrible performance. The entire back four, fundamentally, to a man, were terrible as individual players. And I haven't even gotten to tactics yet. I'm just talking about, strictly speaking, the performance of those players was so beyond, not the Man United par, their individual par, their individual base level of performance. They were so below it that all of a sudden the game gets like fucking, it spins. Everything spins from there. You can't have strong tactics when your back four are individually playing like garbage. I know everybody wants to talk about tactics because it's in vogue to talk about tactics all the time and Ole and all that shit, but like, when every one of your back four players is having a fucking terrible game, that's very difficult to manage out of. And that's all like that's fundamentally what I took off. And once you get to 3 goals, I'm just like, this is going to be a fucking nightmare.
Okay. So question for you then.
Yeah.
Players played terribly. Way better, way worse than their individual skill level or performance levels or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it not the manager's job
Yes.
to make sure that they don't do that?
Should be.
I mean, there is times when you play badly.
Sorry,
but
hang on.
Against your rivals.
But let me ask you this. Is it not the player's job to make sure that they themselves are up to snuff and playing ready? Like, at what point, because again, the manager can't play the game for you. Luke Shaw has never been coached in his life to come so into the middle that he's standing beside Harry Maguire. A manager doesn't have to have drills to train you into not doing that kind of stupid shit. The players have to be responsible for their own fucking stupid. This wasn't even like a preparation thing. They were just dumb. They just played so badly. And this is continually becoming a thing for this Man United squad. We are losing because of individual errors that you can't legislate as a manager.
Yes, you can. You absolutely can. That's
how? Somebody tell me how.
So wait a minute. So JP, you coach, right? So you have some insight, and I want your insight post what I'm going to say. But I absolutely think if at some point, if you have every player on the pitch not knowing what the role is and what they're supposed to be doing and playing out of position, which is what we saw in this game, like the wing backs going too far forward, the 2 center halves not being in line with each other, one being further forward than the other, and then there's gaps in behind everywhere, like the gaps in behind. That's a management decision. He literally said, we're going to be on the front foot. That was his intention. If you're going to push your players on the front foot, that means your wing backs or your Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka are going to be get forward against Liverpool. This is a Liverpool side with 3 of the best forwards, who one of them was on the bench, but Jota, who's been brilliant this season as well. You are setting yourself up for failure here as a manager. That's a management decision. He's decided that the shape of the team is going to play a certain way, and he got it wrong. Now, the players also were shit. Let's be fair. I'm not suggesting that the players don't take any credit for how bad they were, but they have to both be given credit for it.
Hang on.
Certain way,
and you weren't here when I said this. I'm covering a hierarchy of blame.
I got you. Okay, I missed that.
I'm not saying Ole's not to blame. I am saying I put it
okay
so largely on the players
right
that I think it's unfair the amount it's going to Ole. I don't think Ole got it right either. I'm not saying he got it right. I'm not impressed either with the tactics and honestly, there's so many issues across the board on that team. The midfield players are shit. Cristiano Ronaldo is amazing, but like nobody seemed to be able to crack how do you play him. I thought Ole made a brave decision not putting Pogba in because there's a lot of pressure to play your superstar, and he decided not to.
What happened when he did, right? When he came on, it was
right. So, but even that, it's like, is Ole to blame for that moment of stupidity?
No, that's
hold on.
So JP, like you're as a coach, right? Like what we just talked about. I want your insight on that sort of fault where it lies and what a team is going to do based on what the manager says.
For everybody listening, for all our followers, I coach soccer. I coach a high level of youth soccer here in California, and I want to make sure and make this very clear. This is not college level. This is not collegiate sports. This is not professional sports. This is really high level teenage soccer where I travel with my team. We play huge tournaments across the United States. Besides that, the decision-making is a reflection of two things, right? The decision-making is a reflection of repeated practice of tactics at practices. What are you going to practice doing?
Do the same thing, repeat.
How do you rotate? How do you press as a team? How do you communicate? How do you make these things happen? And drilling that to a point. The professional players, they should be able to do it at a high level. At the same time, you have in-game diagnostic and analysis player by player for their decision-making. And I'm going to say two things. One is the play-by-play decision-making was absolutely garbage from United players. But the problem is it's not just a one-off game. This is starting to show multiple games. They've played well. They've played poorly for 4, 5, 6 games in a row now. This isn't just players playing bad on a night. This is a continuation that we're seeing a picture being drawn.
Right.
That's not
JP. If you want to get off the conversation of this game and talk about the state of Man United, I'm happy to do it. But don't take what I'm saying and correct me when I'm talking about this individual game, and I'm telling you things like you can't legislate for Pogba doing a red card. That's all I said, and then you're acting like you're correcting me. Please don't do that. If you want to talk about the state of Man United, don't tell me how my club is playing. I'll tell you how my club is playing, and it's not well, and it has not been well this season.
Paul, hang on a second.
Wifey?
Hang on a second for a second, Paul. I get it's an emotional situation. We're trying to get JP's insight here as a coach.
Who's being emotional? I'm loud because I'm Scottish.
No, you're just being emotional. JP, can you finish your thought, please? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Not a problem. Okay. The problem isn't just that this is a one game. You can't look at one game and say, oh, they were terrible in this one game. Yeah. They were bad in this one.
Who's doing that? Who is doing that?
Paul, let him finish.
You just said don't look at United as a whole. I'm not looking at United. I'm looking at this one game, right? One game, one goal given up. Okay. They give up one, maybe even 2 goals against Liverpool. You gave up 5 against Liverpool in this game, and they weren't even well defended against goals. It's a repetition.
They were tap-ins
over and over of poor marking, poor decision, poor touches.
I saw the game, JP.
I watched part of the games, dude.
I know. I'm saying I don't need you to tell me these things. Right. I saw the game, JP.
Paul, we're here to listen to everybody's perspective.
What I'm saying is that if they scored 1 or 2 games and it was Luke Shaw in the wrong position or this or that, yes, it would be bad player development, bad decision-making, bad individual players, bad as a collective of players. That was bad of collective of players for 90 minutes. That's a coach not taking charge. That's a shared responsibility. That's a shared between Ole and the players. Yep. It's not like a hierarchy. That's a whole team problem there.
Cool.
Okay, man.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
You're going to shut down on me.
I don't know what to tell you. All I'm saying is I personally put the players at a higher blame level than Ole. That doesn't mean I don't blame Ole. So I don't know what you're trying to tell me.
I'm trying to tell you that
if you want to have a conversation outside of this game and talk about the state of United,
hey guys, hang on.
They are not currently well managed.
I'm going to interrupt you both right now. This isn't about arguing who's right or wrong here. This is about perspectives from different people's perceived reality of what they saw in this game. I think JP makes good points. I think Paul makes good points. We're not here to have a fight on our show.
Well, to be fair, he framed it like a counterpoint to me.
It's kind of what we do.
That's not. What else are we here for?
No. But let's have an actual conversation.
We have a question.
Just yelling over each other.
So if you want to talk to me, Ask me this question. What do you think of the management right now? Let's be specific about, like, forget about this game. If you want to get to the management question, because everybody wants to. That's what everybody's talking
All
about.
right,
Just fucking get to it.
Is Ole good enough for Man United? That's my question.
Is Ole good enough for Man United in the current state of the team where we're not going to be winning?
If you look at his whole tenure and you think, is he worth keeping? Has he made United better? Is he at the standard United need? Yes or no?
Currently, okay. There's two parts of this, man. Is Man United should be a team that win titles. That's the expectation. Man United need to have a team that can win titles. I don't think they have that team right now. So right now, what they need is a manager that can get them to a high level of performance so that when they have the team that can win titles, they can get the guy in that will win them the titles with that team.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
All right.
And I have always thought that of Ole is he is there to get us to a certain level, to give us the time to build to a team where we can actually plausibly win something. And that means beating Liverpool and then beating Man City, which means our squad has to at least have midfield players. Would be
all right,
nice.
lads. So we could talk about this forever. This could be a whole show on itself, and maybe we should do that. But let's move on. We got to get into the player of the week. There's a bit of contention here, but I think there's a couple different players that would stand out. I would argue that Mo Salah, but he's probably the player of the season so far. If we're going to be a little bit more generous to some other players, and Paul, I want you to speak to this because I think
Mo Salah was definitely in consideration, but he was playing against a Man United defense that was worse than the Norwich defense. So we
which
picked
is totally fair.
Mason Mount.
Boom, Bishbal shout. Good shout. Paul, talk to it for me. With the
3 goals, 1 assist, 100% tackles, 3 chances created, a perfect 10 on the who scored rating. To be fair, Mo Salah also had a perfect 10. But I just think because there's an element of Mo Salah is the most informed goddamn player you can name in England, possibly Europe, that it would take more than a hat trick against shitty Man United at the moment to warrant a performance that beat what Mason Mount did, even though he was playing against Norwich. I think he edges it, but it's a fine line. And we definitely want to give acknowledgement to Mo Salah. I'm going to do so by saying Mason Mount, player of the week, ISO date, great job. And then I'm going to finish with this amazing Mo Salah story. Amazing Mo Salah story. Ben Foster told this story. Watford got beat by Liverpool 5-0, and there was almost a penalty awarded to Mo Salah and Liverpool. And Ben Foster was telling this story that at the end of the game, Mo Salah ran up to him and asked him specifically, if I had gotten that penalty, which way would you have dove? Because he knew that Ben Foster does his research on the shooters, and by asking him that question, he would have a good sense of what other keepers are thinking about him and where they might go if he had a penalty. And that's the kind of mental fucking, the level of compete to just walk in, you just beat a team 5-0 and you're asking a guy which way he would have dove. like that's crazy. That's crazy. He'll be the player of the season, I'm sure of it. But until then, we want to start spreading the love a little bit. So Mason Mount, our ISO date star player of the week.
Anything to add, JP? I think it's a good shout. I want to say, Paul.
Paul hit it out of the park. I just gotta say, for Mason Mount, we talked about Mo Salah, he's been on fire, freaking all season.
Oh yeah.
Mason Mount has not. He's been dropped for games, and he comes out and has this performance. Granted, it is Norwich, and there are so much that players can hide or just all right, well, I'll just let the rest of the team take over. But for him doing this in the position he plays, and they had 4 goals before the red card. It's very impressive. It's still very impressive.
It was a great performance. And Mount is a good player, nominated for the Ballon d'Or. I think that's a bit extreme, but I do think he's been really good this season in the last couple seasons, and he's done well for England as well. Great young player. Don't like the club, but you got to give him credit for what he's doing, and wonderful performance in this game. 3 goals in an assist and 100% tackles won, 3 chances created. I mean, those stats, as much as people say stats don't matter that much, these accumulation of stats, when you take a number of pieces of data and put them together, it can tell a story, and I think it tells a really good story, and it's a good show on that, Paul. All right, let's. That was a longer review than we normally do, but it was good though. It was good. It was heated. It was there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We got some people in the comments. I just want to shout out here about JP before you. Well, yeah, you guys are having a little love here. Bob Spur's gonna join us for the Man U Spurs preview in about 5 minutes. So we're gonna go through some of the previews, and when he arrives, we'll skip to that one. So the order might be slightly different based on the time that they play. But I want to get me not responding to what Spurs are going to do, but a Spurs supporter, and Bobby's a wonderful person to do that. So it'll be fun to have him on. So let's get to it. Let me pop up the previews slide. Where we got here? There we are. Share that. I'm a tech. It's what I'm doing here. It's preview time. All right. Saturday, we'll start with Leicester Arsenal. This is JP. This is a bit of a tasty match.
Juicy game.
Bit of a tasty match here. We got an inform Arsenal, and we got a Leicester team, a Fox's team at the moment, who are starting to see a bit more from them. What are your thoughts, JP, on this game, and what do you expect?
Damn, man, you flip a coin on this one. This to me could be one of the games of the week, and it's going to be so at the butt crack of dawn for me. It's going to be at like 4:30 for me that I can't get up for it. I'll probably watch the highlights, but damn, it's going to be a great game. I can't wait to watch it. I literally don't know what to say, because look at they're tied for wins, they're tied for losses, they're tied for draws, their XG, or the goals that they both could score in this game, so tight. The goals, I think that's goals against XGA. Arsenal gives up a few more opportunities for goals, but it's so good. Like, it's so good. I think Vardy definitely has a goal in him. I think Arsenal have a goal in them. I think Emile Smith-Rowe is playing really well. I think freaking Tielemans is playing well. Partey looks like he's finally getting the grips. I don't know, man. It's going to be I think this one's going to be just a great match.
It's got like tasty who's going to finish 6th or 7th written all over it. Paul, obviously you've gone over these statistics, and we've looked at these players and who's important. You look at the Leicester side of it. You've got Ndidi out, Perez out, Mendy out. Those are players that are important for them, but maybe not necessarily for how we'd expect them to play. Xhaka, it's probably him being out for Arsenal is a good thing. I mean, he's always got a yellow or a red card in him, and ends up causing a problem. Statistically, when it comes to what their form-wise are coming into it, we've got 2 wins in a row from Leicester. Leicester beating, of course, Man United, and then who did they beat last week? Correct me, help me. Nobody, I don't remember. Leicester won last week, and then of course Brentford. Thank you. And then we've got Arsenal, 2 draws and a win, but they're unbeaten in 5. That's a good stat. Like it's
actually 7.
Is it okay? I'm looking at on the screen here. So yeah, unbeaten in 7. That's a massive stat for Arsenal. That's a team that is starting to play with confidence and not conceding. And so there's something to be said about that. Paul, what are your thoughts looking at this game? Anything that you want to see? Anything you expect to see? Like I think this could be a cracker.
It should just be tasty. I think
fun,
it's right? It's got everything you want. Like the winner surpasses the position of the opponent. Like that's amazing whenever that happens. That's like this. You mark it on your calendar for these guys when they go into it. And I think both these teams, if I'm not mistaken, won their Carabao Cup games this week as well, relatively unscathed. I don't think anybody had any major injuries.
Comfortable, I believe. Yeah.
Well, I think the Leicester game was actually against Brighton, and they went into shootouts. Which is,
comfortable from the injury perspective. Like, there's nothing difficult about playing the next game other than fitness potentially.
So they're both. If you believe in these cup games as being indicative of momentum and all that stuff, that these are 2 teams I think you can honestly say have some of the best momentum of the teams in the Premier League right now.
Good show.
I think this has just got a lot of elements I really like. I'm hoping it's going to be exciting. I mean, the game they played last time, I dug out the storyline to it, and it was the 3-1 win to Arsenal. But I think Leicester hit the post twice.
It was tight. It was a tight game.
It was tight. It was the third Pepe goal came very late, and beyond that, it was like anybody's kind of a game. So I'm certainly looking forward to this. I won't be waking up for it, but I will be PVRing.
It's an early game. Yeah, it's a 7:30 a.m. our time, and then of course, JP, you're going to be mid-sleep time at that point for this game. But You get to watch it post some highlights or however you get to see games in those situations. You guys have DAZN out there in California?
Nope.
Nope.
We got that NBC app. What's it called?
Yeah.
Shit.
It's not good enough. Either way, we'll go with that. Really exciting, really exciting game. I'm gonna do the same as Paul. I'm gonna watch this post. Like I'm not gonna get up at 7:30 in the morning. I've got this Halloween weekend, so there's a lot going on. Partying Friday and Saturday. We may have to do this podcast again on Wednesday because I'll catch up with all the football. But really cracking game. It's gonna be exciting to watch. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's get on to the next.
Yeah, let's start jumping through them.
Yeah, we'll jump through them. We got. We're gonna save the Spurs one if Bobby is gonna jump on with us. But let's go to Burnley Brentford. Brentford.
Brentford 3-1 done.
I mean,
easy.
Yeah.
There's not much.
I don't see Burnley being able to compete with Brentford. Brentford, new team, doesn't matter. They're good. They play well. They're a team. They are a team. They work together.
Brentford on a loss that they probably felt pretty good about their chances of beating Leicester should, I think, look at this and go, yeah, we're going to fuck these guys up. And I think they will.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, let's move on. We're going to do these ones quick. Liverpool Brighton. This has got a lot of it's a bit tasty as well. But I mean, it's Liverpool at Anfield. I think comfortable probably for Liverpool. But what we saw from Brighton last game and what we saw from Brighton this season, Brighton do have something to give. It's just whether they can tactically be good enough to get through a first half. We saw what happened at Man City. Are they going to be able to control or slightly get through the first half and then compete against a Liverpool side who right now, arguably, I think Liverpool right now are the best team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
There should be a rule that doesn't let a team play against Man City and then Liverpool
in a row. Yeah, I agree. JP, thoughts on this game? How do you see Brighton get through it? I think they're going to lose, but I
think they're going to have the ball, the grip of the ball. But to me, Liverpool's attack is just better than Brighton's defense, and Brighton's offense are not as good as Liverpool's defense.
Yeah,
I just don't see them scoring more than one goal, and I can see Liverpool putting 2 or 3 past them.
I think the key for Brighton in this case, and any team that is in this sort of situation, is can you come out of the game positively despite the scoreline, right? Despite losing to City 4-1, did they come out of that feeling confident about, we can compete with this team? And I think that's what they were able to do. So that's a really good thing. I think that's probably, as a manager, as Graham Potter thought, let's go into the second half and try to be competitive against this level of team and then see where we stand. And I thought that they did a really good job of that. So I still think Liverpool are going to win comfortably, but I think that Brighton have enough psychologically, despite losing those 2 games in a row against the 2 best teams in the league at the moment, to get past it and to still finish it at a high end. Paul, what are your thoughts?
I think it should be pretty straightforward. I think it's matched up to be an entertaining game. I think if Brighton have any hope, and if we said this guy's name, but I haven't said his name for a long time. He came on in the second half against Man City and looked like one of the best players on the pitch. Lamptey.
Immediate, right? That kid is incredible.
Right wing back for Brighton, I think, if they have any chance, play with the back 3, use your wing backs,
get him
wing
behind,
backs.
Right? Get him in behind.
They play with the back. They play with a back 4, but they have Robertson and Arnold playing so high up the pitch that a wing back like a Lamptey could have a lot of space and really be a pain in the ass if you do it right. And I think he's, on his day, got the potential to be that guy. I don't think he's going to score goals. He's got to be able to cross the ball in the box. I don't think they have anybody who can be on the end of it. But if they have a chance against Liverpool, I think where he goes, they go. And it's a lot of pressure for a young man, but he's so good.
Yeah, he looked great. Anything to add there, JP? I want to move through these quickly. Next game, we've got Newcastle Chelsea.
Same thing.
Smash. 4-0. It's going to be simple for Chelsea.
4-5-0.
Yeah, Paul, anything to put to this? I mean, it's
man. If you don't already have Kai Havertz on your team until Lukaku gets better, get him on your team.
Or Mount, I would agree with that. We got Southampton Watford up next. Big sort of mid-table game because I think both teams still trying to find their way. But what we saw from Watford against Everton was pretty impressive. Southampton defending well, but not scoring a ton. What are we going to see with this game? I think it's like a 1-1 draw written all over it. Is there much to add, Paul or JP?
Well, we didn't really talk about it with the Everton-Watford result, but I mean, Claudio Ranieri is he's now had this club for a couple of weeks. Like
That's not a long time, Paul.
that's not a long time, but he
2
is
weeks.
he is he is going to start to have more and more of an effect on them, and I don't think that's why they won 5-2 against Everton necessarily, but I think Southampton are not that good a team, and Watford were underperforming pretty badly with what they are capable of doing. So I think that's maybe the hope for Watford, is that maybe he is starting to have an influence. I mean, they're not going to be his team by any means, but he might be able to do like more basic things.
Get enough to get a result kind of thing.
Yeah. Like I think
It
their
could be a
previous
2-1
manager.
Watford, maybe a 3-1 Watford, but like a goal in the final 10 minutes.
Yeah,
5
it'll be
minutes.
tight, but it'll be Watford. Oh, likely Watford at home win potentially. Southampton struggling a little bit this season, not looking great. All right, let's move on. We've got the game of the week ish.
Did we do City Crystal?
We're gonna get onto that. We're gonna get onto the Sunday. This is Saturday. We're sticking with Saturday. We've got the one and only Mr. Bob Spur TV, Bobby. Mate,
Hey.
How you doing, guys? You all right?
How you doing, brother?
All right, Bob.
This is so. I'm glad you're here, buddy, because I don't want to talk about it. I'm just gonna be the host. You know how it is. You're the host with the most when you do your own channel. Bob's for TV. If you're a Spurs fan, hop on and like and subscribe. Wonderful human and has a great channel.
Great topics.
We play Man United at 12:30. This is a Man United. This is, what do we call this? El Sacico, right? So, for you, Bobby, going into this game, we won today against a Burnley side that we should have slaughtered, and we barely got over the line.
Yeah.
We've lost the 2 games prior to that. It hasn't been good for Spurs. We've struggled, but also Man United have been pretty shit. As well. Like, I think these are 2 teams that, and this is why it's being told or said as like who's going to get sacked first. When you go into this game as a Spurs fan and going against a Man United at home, what do you think? Do you think we should get a result? What do you expect to see? Is it going to be just like another shit game of football?
Absolutely fucking shitting it. You get Spurs fans, man. Dr. Tottenham at your
Dr. Tottenham at the wheelhouse, right?
Be there. And I'm sure Paul will agree. Every time Ollie has to win,
he wins.
It's true. He's always a game away from really getting the pressure put on him. I know that's a different topic, but he always seems to, or Man United always seem to pull it out of the bag. And why not do it against Spurs? The El Sacico title that's been given to the game. I don't know how I wanted your opinions on that. I don't know how realistic of a title that is. It does depend on, in my opinion, it does depend on the nature of the defeat. If it's a 4-0, 5-0 either way, then I think the sacking could be a bit more of a reality than we'll just scrape to defeat or just scrape to
So Bobby, so if Spurs lose 4-0 or Man U lose 4-0, like as an extreme example, that could make a massive difference, where if it's a 1-1 draw, it's not going to mean anything.
It's no good to anyone, but it does surprise me, and I know, Paul, you touched on it earlier, is how we'll look at the bigger picture. I'm not going to talk about a Liverpool game. I know you're putting it, you're putting that as a separate discussion altogether, understandably. But and I'm sure you've been asked this question many, many times, but is he living off his reputation? There must be an element of that, mate. There must be an element of Ollie being part of that treble-winning team, scoring that
100%.
No, he's a Man United legend, and he's getting protected because of that, for sure. He is.
So where's the line,
if you look at Gary Neville's comments, right, Bobby? If
Yeah.
you look at Gary Neville's comments on Sky, like he's basically going like, "Oh yeah, he's going to have time." He's just accepted it, even though he probably shouldn't or wouldn't, had the situation be different with a different player. But it's his buddy, right?
Yeah. From the outsider, it does seem that some Man United fans are adjusting their ambitions to suit Ollie's and suit where he is as a manager. And I think as someone who's seen Man United over the last sport Tottenham 41 years, but I've seen the rise of Man United. For me, were the best team in the world at one stage. It was undoubted in my eyes. So it's a bit alien for me for Man United fans to lower their ambitions just so it suits their legend, i.e. Ollie. I don't know. Is that surprising you? Do you understand it? Is that right?
I have a very pragmatic sense of this. Our situation changed as soon as Ferguson left. This is not Ole. We're not where we are because of Ole. We're here because the David Moyes, the board making poor decisions. Louis van Gaal we're still, in my mind, dealing with a lot of shit that he did. Like he gutted everybody in that dressing room that would have told people what the Man United way was. Yeah. Jose Mourinho broke Luke Shaw, had to repair him. Pogba was like, I don't know, like what do you do about a riddle like Paul Pogba? Like, I don't blame Ole for not figuring that out because nobody else has been able to figure out before him. So a lot of it's, yeah, I'm giving Ole time, but I'm also like, to get out of this, you need to have a slow and steady project in place. It doesn't get solved over the course of 1 or 2 windows. So for me, I constantly look at, are we improving? We are building a better squad. Yes. Is that squad being utilized currently? No. Does that mean it's over for him right now? I would like to think we wouldn't be so harsh to any manager, just fire him, because I don't think firing managers mid-season is traditionally the best thing for most top clubs when the expectations are very heavy and the finish is supposed to be like top 4. I think you fire a manager when you're trying to like survive, and it's like there's results when you can do that, but I don't think traditionally you get strong results firing a manager. I don't think he's lost the dressing room. I don't think it's a question of the players giving up. You don't come back 2-0 down from Atalanta in Champions League to win 3-2 if the players aren't giving their all. There's signs that he's not
a good shot,
tactically capable to take them to the next level.
Yeah.
And I'm not an Ole forever guy by any means, but I am as of right now, I don't see the benefit of firing him.
Pragmatic.
I just think it makes it worse. Like everybody wants his head, and there's like a lot of passion against it, and a lot of it's like the press, and a lot of it's like fans who just want to see the fire happen at Man United, and I get that too. But for me, it just doesn't really seem like it's the time to make that kind of a move. It's maybe the time to start picking up the phone and going, "Hey, are you available? We're thinking about a change." Without being disrespectful to Ole about it. But yeah, I think from a practical sense, the chopping the head off the manager is just, it's what the fans want, because it feels like you've taken a step.
Yeah, it's the emotional response, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that is a step.
Bobby, we're going through the same thing ourselves at the moment.
Well,
so
we can relate to it.
Yeah, 100%.
Problems with the board, and
of course. There's so much involved there. Bobby,
Yeah.
let me quickly interrupt though, because JP had his hand up, and I want to get JP's thoughts on it, and I also want to get back to this game specifically. I mean, but go ahead, JP.
I'm gonna jump on what Paul was saying, and then I'll get back to the game, and I'll tie it up really quickly.
Perfect.
The one caveat I'll say is that I agree. You don't fire a manager midway through the season. It doesn't look good, especially if you're a top team. It puts too much pressure on a new manager. It scraps the season. It's kind of a bust. But if you can get a top manager, it's worth it. And Chelsea proved it last season. They had a decent team that were underperforming. Not a title-winning team, but a decent team. And they won the Champions League with it. They got in a top manager. Tuchel has done very well there. And
I'm gonna hate Chelsea, but they did it so
I
right.
hate Chelsea, but you know what?
So
it was like the quality of play. Second place wasn't good enough, and they brought in somebody else who wasn't accepting the low results. Changed results around. They did well, and they got a title. And you know what, Paul? You said the team isn't good enough for a title. No, but they're also better than what they're showing.
They have players that should be.
That's just my thoughts.
Yeah,
no,
I agree.
They're not. They're underperforming. Nobody's going to question that.
Yeah.
No United fan are saying, "Oh, it's fine." Like, we all know it's like they're underperforming. I'm just not convinced that firing the manager at this point is the thing that gets you to turn that around.
He's trying to be pragmatic about it, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Bobby, go on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a line. Is a 4-0 defeat? I know we're talking bullshit,
Numbers,
Spurs, but is a 4-0 defeat against Spurs that line for some of the Man United fans? That line that's there's no going back from. I mean,
is there a line that's drawn, right?
Yeah. It surprises me that there are Man United fans out there who don't think. I know people are saying, my Man United fans are saying we don't want Conte. fucking hell, would do anything to get Conte.
Absolutely.
Or a Pochettino or a Nuno to come in and make your side a better footballing
Sorry,
team.
did you say Nuno there?
Yeah,
Bob?
okay. I want to get rid of Nuno. So, but yeah, it does surprise me a bit. But then again, I'm judging it from the outside. I've seen how successful Man United have been, and in my eyes, they're still up there. They are for me the biggest club in the world in world football, regardless of the trophies that Man City and Liverpool have won of late. But when does that line change, Paul? Does a heavy defeat against Spurs, who are, let's be honest, have been average this season? What does that shift anything? Is there a mentality shift amongst the fan base? Because no matter what we think about Spurs, that we can turn it on against a bigger team, and we can do
at
that.
home especially.
I mean, I if I spoke for the fan base, I think a lot of them are already at that point. Like, I don't know that I'm necessarily representative of the fan base, but a lot of Man United fans, because again, when the fan base is as large as United, there's just a lot of varied personalities. Like, a lot of people who are just like, why didn't we bet Messi when he was available? Like, that was an option. So there's a lot of, like, you have to weed through some of the stupid opinions. I think losing in a hypothetical situation on the road to Tottenham, the way you guys are playing right now, 4-0 would be a significant obstacle to Ole keeping his job. I don't think he gets fired the next day, but I think the next day the phone calls are getting made. And then he's got Atalanta on the road for Champions League, and then he's got Man City. So for me, I don't know. My gut says the rumors that he's got 3 games to get them to play way better than they are and to get results is probably true. And I think at that point in a season, he's done enough to be like, okay, well, you are now at your limit. You cannot turn a team of talented players around when they are no longer playing like they are capable of playing.
Okay, guys,
and he'll get that too.
Go ahead. I want to interrupt here because I want to go to Spurs manager here, because this is sort of the idea of this conversation between it's called El Sacico, right? So
cheers, guys. See you later.
Cheers, Bobby. We've got a scenario here where both managers are under the cosh, right? Like, obviously we just spoke about the situation with Ole and whether or not the fans are behind him, whether or not he's going to get sacked. But then we have to talk about Nuno right here. And Bobby, you and I are on channels all the time. We've talked about this. We understand Spurs fans and their position on it. What scoreline for, again, like if Spurs lose 4-0 to United at home, how much pressure does that put under Nuno? Is Nuno sacked in that same situation? Are we and this is why this is being debated as El Sacico, because one of those results going either way could decide either manager's fate. If they both finish 1-1 or it's a shit game and it's 0-0 or nothing happens, like both managers probably crack on and end up managing both teams to a mediocre finish in the league. But Bobby, do you put Nuno's situation in the same light as you'd put Ole's situation for Spurs?
It's what I've always said. I mean, we all talk about players' abilities and their ceiling of what they can achieve. We should do that with managers as well. Obviously, Ole coming from Cardiff and Mulder, says there is he's managed clubs that match his ability. And same with Nuno.
Same.
Why should some of the fan base expect more from a mediocre manager who's been in charge of a mid-table team who played pragmatic football? He's come from Wolves and glorify.
He's done all right. He's done all right.
Of course, he did all right. But
all right,
he was at Wolves.
Yeah.
He was at Wolves. There was a reason why he was at Wolves. There was a reason why he was.
He was also backed at Wolves in a way that he isn't at Spurs.
He was, but I don't think he's performing any worse or better than what he is as a manager, ability wise.
Does he get sacked? He get sacked though, Bobby? To keep it on track here, because we don't have a ton of time here. We got probably another 15 minutes to go. Does he keep his job if Spurs lose this game at home against Man United, 2-3, 4-0, like what we just talked about with United? Is he going to get sacked? Are we looking at? That's why it's called El Sacico, as people are stating. Or is that what you think should happen? And if Who do you bring in? Like, what are your thoughts on Nuno getting sacked?
It'd be very hard for him to keep his job with the fan base. There will be, uproar. People are talking about tonight's game as if we'd lost 4-0 tonight. That's how bad we were.
We we were shit though.
Yeah. It's the Levy aspect as well. He
It
brought
is.
him in. By him sacking Nuno, it will look like
less confidence.
Exactly, but that's the reason why Paratici was brought in, because DOF does mean the deflector of football, or the deflector of fuck all. So he'll get all the blame. It's going to be very hard. People say, "Oh, Levy wouldn't do that." He's probably the most ruthless chairman out there. 15 managers.
He'll do it in a second. He doesn't give a shit. Clearly,
says that. So it'd be very hard for him if we lose, and we lose badly and we don't perform. It'd be very hard for Nuno to keep his job. Who comes in, mate? You know what I'm going to say. It's Ryan Mason. It's only Mason.
Yeah, right. Mason in. I know, Bobby. You've always been on that. All right, so we've talked about this a lot. We got to roll on because this is a longer podcast than usual, but there's been a lot to talk about. Bobby, stay with us if you want. We'll keep you having to ask the questions. We got on Sunday games. We got Norwich versus Leeds at 10 a.m. our time.
This will be fast, Bobby.
Be
This will
quick.
be fast.
Does anybody care?
Leeds 1-0.
Leeds get their first very comfortable win. I think this is the more interesting game. We've got Aston Villa versus West Ham. We got the Claret Blue versus the Claret Blue. Two teams. One that has been kind of shit recently. And JP, I apologize. I don't mean to be rude about it, but you would agree. And a West Ham team who just beat Spurs recently. I would say comfortably, but like didn't play well either. But like, I'll start with you, JP, and we're going to keep it quick because we'll start with you, JP, and then we'll get to Bob Spur and then maybe Paul's thoughts if we have time. JP, how do you feel go into this game?
I do not feel comfortable, man. The problem is there's an article today that the players and Dean Smith came out and said, "Oh, the players are playing poorly. It's not the formation. All the fans are screaming for a formation change to a 4-3-3 instead of 3-5-2." He's trying to force two strikers in, Danny Ings and Watkins does not looks like he's kind of carrying the knock. He doesn't look full of potential. He has one goal in like 7 games. I just feel like trying to force him in is a terrible idea. We have to get more time to Buendia on the right and Bailey on the left. If we can do that, I think we have a good game. If we go out 3-5-2 with Watkins and Ings and no Bailey and a Buendia playing center mid, I think we're gonna get smashed. I'm scared. I'm worried.
Bobby, thoughts on Villa?
Yeah,
versus West Ham?
with Bailey, Ings, and Watkins, I don't think goal scoring should be an issue with Villa, but it's a case of how do you fit all of them in?
How do they all understand each other? To
that's
some
it. And the fact you're conceding goals as well at the moment. The Wolves was a freak.
Atrocious moment.
Exactly. We looked pretty good against a Villa side who we were shitting it.
We thought we were going to lose, didn't we, Bobby?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we all thought we were going to lose that game. JP, you remember
Spursy on everybody.
JP and I did a opposition preview for Tottenham on tour. You came on the show, and I told you I think we're going to lose you guys.
I said I'm worried about Sonny. I'm worried about Kane.
But we thought we were going to lose to you, and we ended up winning, which was shocking. But Bobby, you want to finish your point?
Yeah. But West Ham, obviously, they're playing okay, but I hate their fucking guts. So Villa, you got to do it, man. You got to do it.
Come on, Villa. Come on, up the Villa.
Come on, Villa. 2-0, 3-0.
Paulie, anything to add to this conversation?
I got to go with the hot hand and pick West Ham here. They're playing well right now.
Yeah.
They are. I wouldn't say they're playing well. They were terrible against Spurs. It's one of the worst games they played all season. But the only difference is that Spurs were worse. That was it, because they were both crap. It was an awful game to watch. We've got a Monday game. This is it. This is how we're going to finish it off. We got Wolves versus Everton. I mean, it's a struggle to sort of figure out what's going on with both of these teams. Wolves are kind of like in and out. We're not sure what they're going to do. Sometimes, they came back against a Villa side that we thought would, 2-0 up and ended up losing 3-2 in the last 10 minutes. Everton lose 4-2 to Watford last week.
5-2.
5-2. Thanks for correcting me. Got slaughtered against Watford. I mean, I'll start with you, Paulie. What do you expect to see from a Wolves Everton game? I mean, is there any prediction that would make any sense to anybody in this game at all?
Give out any number and you could say yes.
Yeah, I could be wrong about this, but I feel like the Monday Wolves, Everton. When you add the word Monday into that, I feel like you're up for just anything can happen kind of a game. I don't know if it's true.
Does Monday matter? Because I feel like it would say that whether it was Monday or not.
I have always thought Monday games have a little bit more magic to them because everybody is watching. It's kind of like the Monday Night Football thing in the States. It's just it's a bigger audience. There's nothing else to compete with. I think the players maybe know that. It's just a little bit more magic in the air.
Like Monday Night Football in the U.S.
That's really interesting.
Exactly. And I think like a similar idea. I think these two teams have it in them to put on a show. I wouldn't want to see this game if it was on a Sunday or a Saturday, but these two matched up on a Monday. I feel like there's enough talent there and there's enough developments there that you might have some like late in the game drama or something worth watching.
Bobby, anything you care about or want to see in this game, or are you interested in it? Monday Night Football? Are you going to watch?
Yeah, I love Monday, and that's purely because normally Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher are in the studio. It's a big deal.
Just yelling at each other, just fucking killing each other.
It's good. But Wolves are on a form team, haven't they? Yeah, they've won 3 out of the last 4. I think
they've been all right.
Drew against Leeds
Everton
United.
have been struggling a bit too, Bobby.
Everton. I mean, the biggest thing about the Everton loss was obviously Everton very rarely get a big defeat. 6-2 was their last one at home against Spurs a few years. But Benitez never gets thrashed the way he did. So it probably was a one-off, and they'll probably beat Wolves. But going in, I actually think Wolves, in my eyes, have got more of a chance winning the game. It'll be a 1-1 draw, a 0-0 draw. But if anyone's going to win it, I do believe Wolves, under their new manager, who looks like he's getting things right, a Wolves win or a draw. I can't see Everton winning.
I think it's going to be tight. I'm looking like a 1-1 here. I don't see a lot of either team getting ahead of the other. I think it's going to be pragmatic and annoying. And despite us wanting it to Monday Night Football, Paulie, I'm wanting it to be like
in
exciting.
Terms of form, Wolves are the hot team. They have not lost in 4 games. They won 3 of those 4 games. Yeah. Everton, I think, are winless in 3, having lost 1 and drawn 2.
They've struggled recently.
Yeah. And I think it kind of goes back to I think this Korean striker for Wolves, as soon as you start looking at how they've been playing since he came on the team, this ridiculous stat of scoring 4 goals on 4 shots on target cannot maintain. But can you imagine if he scores 2 and he's only got 2 shots on target? I don't know what the record is, but he's got to be relatively close to a number where nobody's ever completed this
competing
much.
with Heung-min Son and his own countrymen at the moment.
Soldado, yeah.
Oh, it's Soldado.
For Spurs, yeah, back in the day.
Oh, Bobby, I love your fucking sense of humor. It's my favorite. All right, well, folks, I think that's it, right? That's the game week. There's not much else to talk about here.
Fuck, that was long.
That was a long one. It was long, but you know what? It was long, but it was good. We had good chats. We had good conversations about certain games. Bob's
Paul losing his brain.
Bob's for
JP talked too much.
Paul losing his brain.
That was an interesting chat, you guys.
Yeah. They get into it a little bit. Paul gets a little bit pissy when
sensitive. He gets sensitive.
He gets sensitive.
You know what it is? You can say what you want about my club, but don't misrepresent what I said. And then I lose my shit.
Here we go. But I just want to say, hey, Bobby, just to give yourself a shout out. Let everybody know how to watch you and where you're from and who you are.
Yeah, Bob's Bird TV. I'll do 1 show a week at the moment, sometimes 2. It's Saturday night, normally choose random.
And you had this lot on here, Paul and JP.
Yeah, we spoke about the takeover from Newcastle and the whole morality.
Good chat.
Great
ethical,
feedback.
everything's clean. The money's clean.
It was a great chat. Though. I watched it.
It was great. Maybe a lot of people wanted to come on, and maybe I should have turned a few people away. But we did. It was a bit overwhelming at times. But no, I think the next one will be about the return of the ESL. I am doing a special about the women's football within Spurs as well. I've got an under-16 captain coming onto the show, hopefully, as well. So I won't be doing anything this Saturday because I'm getting absolutely wasted. But next week, and I'll do the day after the day before show, which is normally on a Monday because we normally play on a Saturday.
Bob, you won't know this, but it might be worth noting. Women's Soccer Premier League is now broadcast in Canada.
Wow!
Routinely on like our major networks.
Wicked.
This is a step forward in terms of just like the respectability of
as it should be too. As it should be too.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive out. It's massive out in certainly in America, isn't it? So I think that's probably the level what the women's football in the UK want to get to. And this under-16 captain, she is rather, which is unfortunate. That's what I want to find out about. She's looking to go to America to progress her career rather than stay in the UK, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's
but
just
that
the
is a
difference in
conversation
where
that needs
they're
to be
at,
had.
right?
Yeah.
It's difference in
Yeah.
there. Bobby,
Yeah, exactly.
you know how much I love you, buddy. Bobby has done some amazing stuff for both of our channels. But just anytime you want to come on, you're welcome, and we'll push it out there and get you back on, because fantastic stuff. JP,
this
always
channel is so underrated, man.
this channel needs to push. It's a hard one because we're not club related. We're Premier League related, and we're in Canada, so it's like it's a hard one to get people to pay attention to. But I think the quality.
We have a British guy. We have one British guy.
We have a couple people with accents. We got a couple people with accents. No, but it's a hard one to get people to buy into. But I do think that eventually, once people give it a chance, and we'll be like, 100%. Oh shit, this content is good, and appreciate the thoughts there, Bobby. JP always from Cali. JP is he's a great contributor, and my good friend Paul. Pleasure to have you here. Fantastic, great show, guys, and we'll be back next week, and we're going to try to keep doing more stuff. But this whole YouTube thing is like it's a lot of work, but we're going to get there. And thank you for watching, and thank you for listening.
Thanks
we'll see
for
you
staying
soon.
in, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
This is the North End.